And hello, we're live. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everybody.
So I'm a little bit off center here somehow, but that's okay. I'll be fine. I'll stay that way for now. So interesting times. I don't know if you caught the news, but I'm not one to get into politics, but it is sort of, it's sad news as far as that goes. A lot of people going to be paying their respects as far as Ruth Bader Ginsburg goes, but that's where we're at. It's Friday, September 18th for people who might ever watch this in review, but that's the big external news for the night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing about any time the Superior Court judge dies, you're right, it's a major political event. And I am not going to voice my personal opinion on anything that has to do with that, but it will change what the rulings are down the line.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I'll stay away from any actual political position on that too, but
good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
I just hope whoever ends up in there
doesn't make it worse. No, I'm just kidding. Oh.
No, I mean, let's face it. Life is very different right now.
Yeah. Yep.
And hopefully whoever gets in there makes choices that will help this country grow and recover.
Yep.
Which was supposed to be the ideal of what that was.
Yep. Yeah, it is what it is, though. So we had the Code Camp meetup, or organizational meeting earlier today, and the good news is we had a lot of progress on a lot of the different tasks and stuff like that. Felt like we're making progress there. One of the things that I took the opportunity to do was reach out to some of the sponsors that we had last year. And the very cool part is that I've already updated the website with the results of some of that. So let me bring that up here real quick. Here, let me see if I can share that so that you guys can see too. Where is it? I guess I gotta do that from here. So, all right.
Excuse me.
So here's the website, and I've updated the sponsors page. Like I say, I took care of the issue about it freezing up on load. But
well, maybe.
Yeah, no, we got it.
I'm watching it spin right now.
Oh, are you?
Yep.
I think that's on your computer because I can see it fine on his screen. Or are you logging into the site?
Yeah, I've got the site up in a different monitor. I can see Jim's screen, but in Firefox here it's not loading.
Does it reload if you hit F5? I'm wondering if that isn't a cached version or something.
Yes, if I hit F5, it reloads.
Okay. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. What I'm wondering is that maybe the version that you had was cached and it was still pulling from the old site. I changed where it loads up the initial information, which changes the timing of things. So the good news is that for the most part, it hasn't seemed to have this issue, but it doesn't mean it couldn't, because it is a race condition. So maybe I've got to find a longer term solution still. Actually, I know I've got to find a longer term solution, but
Mine loaded fine.
okay, very cool. Well, so the problem has been that, you know, when you load it up the first time you hit the site, the service layer is not warmed up, and because it's gone to sleep usually. So, you know, once somebody's warmed up the service layer, then it's absolutely fine no matter what for everybody. It's just when the site's been down, or well, been what's the word? When it's gone to sleep, basically. You know, waking it back up again is problematic. And it was problematic more often than not, unfortunately, because it goes to sleep pretty often. It's not exactly the most commonly hit website in the world, so I'm sure it'll get more traffic at some point, you know, as the event heats up and stuff like that. But basically, I've got to do a little bit of formatting fix for the website here for our sponsors. I'm not sure I like the gold sponsors sitting side by side. In a like, if we look at this in a mobile view, for example, so if I change, I'm going to pull up the web tools and make this like a device view. I'm not sure I like exactly how this pans out here. Like, this is a little too close here.
Yeah.
And
the other thing is the sponsor levels need to be more differentiated, or larger print. I'm not sure which.
what do you mean? Oh, the levels themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Lost.
So the headers for each level, you know, platinum and gold and silver.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, I think part of that is that the Akumina logo is too small. I've got to get a bigger version of that.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to be picayune at the bottom of the page.
Say what?
I'm going to be picayune about the bottom of the page.
Where are you talking about?
Where it says, don't go down to under, when it says, please be our sponsorship packages.
Please see our...
I don't like table space. Either we need to put it in quotes to show that it's not really table space, or find some other words.
Yep, I totally agree. Under the circumstances, actually, I almost did exactly what you're talking about, because I looked at that earlier today and meant to do something about it. So I agree entirely.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong, right? I mean, there is no table space.
Yeah, well, it's
right.
Yeah.
Maybe sponsor rooms. I mean, do all the levels of the sponsors get a room?
No, actually, silver and above get a live meeting basically during the day. So.
Okay. So then we need another term for table space, because it's not really table space for a virtual.
It's really sponsor space, and even that is, you know, kind of questionable. It's kind of a legacy construct, but we're holding on to it to some extent.
Yes.
But yeah, I do agree. I think that we need to figure that out a little better. But And like I say, the formatting here, you know, I do agree. We maybe a bar between the sponsorship levels or something like that. And
Are they the Code Camp blue?
no, I don't think they are. I think they're black.
We could make them Code Camp blue, and as you said, like put a line under or over them, or
Yeah, I think a bar above each
level.
level makes sense, and that will differentiate it all the way through. And I think that these should be on separate lines instead of being one beside the other. So, but you know, that's where that's at. There was some other issue that I had with the site that I wanted to. That's what it was. I was going to show you how I approached working around the race condition. And that makes sense to show off, you know, just because if you guys end up doing any maintenance on it or something like that, you'll need to know that it's no longer in the API function. So maybe what I'll do is I'll bring up Visual Studio Code, kind of show you that. But basically what we got is, oh gosh, that's awful hard to see, I'm sure. If you can
Can't see it at all.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that. So, I mean, I know I can zoom the view of the code, I think. You know what? Maybe it's easier to bring it up in File Explorer so that we can talk about it there. So the structure of the website is a basically a static website, and that's in repos and Granite State Code Camp. And so, you know, it's an Angular application that sits in the same folder as, let's see if I can make the view a little bit bigger here. So, you know, it sits in the same structure as an Azure Functions site. So previously we had a service set up to pull the event info from this index file. And basically this is literally just returning static content. So the whole point of this whole function is to run and spit out this content as a JSON object right here from where it's got the body. So let me zoom that out a little bit. So this body is a JSON object that gets spit back to the client. So I'm like, this, when it's, you know, when the Azure Function Service is warmed up, is absolutely fine. It returns very quickly. It's not a problem at all. But the problem comes in when this service falls asleep, and the problem being that it just takes just a little bit too long for the website, and it eventually just hangs instead of proceeding onto the page and loading or doing what it's supposed to do. It's really kind of a pain, and it's really just very basic information. So what I did as a workaround to this problem is in the website itself, under the source code for the app, actually the assets, I literally dropped in a file called eventinfo.json. And I can open this in Actually, I wanted to open it in, actually, I can just open this in, why don't I have, all right, I'll do that for the moment, just because I don't want to putz around with it forever. So this is literally just that same content, just as a JSON file sitting statically on the disk. And it loads it up much quicker and doesn't have a problem with it for the most part. So I am a little bit concerned that it took a moment for you, Bob, just now that you were able to see that loading screen spinning again, because you know, literally all I did in here, let me go back into Visual Studio Code for just a minute. Is I changed the function call from the API. Do I have a, can I change the view here to zoom in? Actually, is that control equals, I think I saw. A little bit better.
A little bit.
Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Let's see if I can remember what the, oh, there we go. So whereas under normal circumstances, actually right now this is set up as a test mode, so I'm reading from a local host, but under normal circumstances, we're just having redirects to /API, so you can actually see that in the website, for example. If you go here and say /API event info, you should just get that JSON right here. And that's what this code basically is doing, just saying in the local server, just go to the API folder and get the event info stuff. Except I changed it, so instead of going to the API, I go to a local folder and just pull the file down. So, you know, that solves the problem of waiting for Azure to warm up. And so I can say, just as easily as this, I can also say Granite State Code Camp /assets event info .json and get exactly the same content. And we can have the old argument about, you know, is a tab 2 spaces or 4 spaces? So other than that, it's, you can see it's, you know, just switching back and forth. The URL content is the same. It solves the problem of the, you know, the load time and the spin up. But the real solution is to make the website more tolerant to timing issues. So we'll definitely have to figure that out.
Well, I opened it in a private browser and it came right up. So yeah, it could have just been a cache thing.
Well, I mean, understand, like I say, it's about the warm up of the service.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And because the service is, you know, just a single instance, if I warm up the service when I make a call, you won't see the problem for, you know, probably an hour or so. You know, nobody will see the problem for about an hour or so. Which, I mean, it's good as far as that goes, but but that makes it a little bit harder to troubleshoot. Now I can reproduce it. So so if I run this locally and I gotta do because it's a double header thing. Here, let me fix my code real quick. So now I'm set up for debug mode just by doing that. Because I have got Visual Studio Code set up so that if I do a run here and say start debugging, oh, I got one other trick that I got to do. So this is going to fail. I'll let it so that we can talk about it. But so it fails because I'm trying to run the Azure functions, and Azure Functions needs a WebJobs storage emulator to start.
Yeah.
So Azure storage emulator. I'm going to go ahead and get that running here. So this starts the storage emulator. I'm going to cancel this for now, but take a look at that. So this should take a second to come up, but not a major thing. Okay, so the storage emulator should be up. Now I should be able to say start debugging. And hopefully this won't take too long here. Yeah, so console is started down here.
Hey, Karen.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Karen.
Hi. Hi, Karen. Hi.
Okay, so the function should now be running. And I'm going to go back to this prompt here and run the website itself, which, like I say, is an Angular application. So I got to run ng-serve. This might take a moment. So just to catch up, Karen, we were just talking about the CodeCamp website again. It was actually what we were talking about the other night, about basically doing what I can to work around this timing issue that we were having where the site would lock up on the loading screen. The quick solution was to put the content that it was waiting on in a different location so that it loads quicker. It's not a complete solution. It's really a patch, a workaround, but it's every bit as operable. I mean, we could just kind of decide, maybe we don't need the other way of doing it. Though I do feel like the service version is probably a nicer way to do it, but there isn't any real advantage anymore. It used to be the advantage to putting these in functions was that you didn't have to necessarily give everybody access to the source code to make a change. You could just give them access to the Azure function. They could go in and tweak something. But the way that this is set up now, it doesn't matter because you can't just go into the Azure function and tweak it anymore. There's no ability to change the Azure function other than by redeploying it from the source code anyway. So I'm not sure that even is an argument anymore. And the only real argument for keeping it as an Azure API method call, frankly, is that it's just cooler.
Just because you like Azure.
Yeah.
it's basically a static site. I mean, it really doesn't need to be an Angular app at all. But I mean, I know that's how it was built. So
Yeah. I mean, and I get, Angular does, provided you understand Angular and all that stuff. I've learned a ton of stuff about Angular that I never even had to touch in some of my other projects because of this site and this particular issue. Which is nice, but it's too bad because it really is. You're absolutely right. It's just a static site. There's hardly any dynamic content. Actually, it does pull dynamic content from Sessionize.
oh right, yep.
But that's it really. So apologies because this does take much longer when I'm streaming out to Facebook and LinkedIn, and actually we're going to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube tonight.
I'm glad I could stay here.
No, I get the COVID do going on, so don't worry about that.
I tried to log in earlier, but I was having problems signing on. Wouldn't let me.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, I said we're having a problem right now. Is all it said. Okay.
That's odd.
Yeah, it was about 5 after 9.
Ah. So now that that's running, I can go to localhost 4200. And this should come right up. Just using local services. This is not actually. This does reach out to Sessionize still. But it is the full site, and I could play with some of the code and stuff like that if we wanted to. But I won't get into making changes right now. But so if you look at where this is pulling the files from, go back here. I'm going to reload the page here. So rather than getting the event info from the API method, you'll be able to see someday when this loads, just because I'm doing so much here, that this is pulling the eventinfo.json file right here from the assets folder instead of from the API. So, I mean, that really is just static content. There's no particular reason to have that load up from the API. And where there's that timing issue that causes it to lock up. And I believe that the race condition is in a third-party library, and that's part of the issue, is that I haven't been able to find exactly what it is that causes that lockup. If I could figure out where it is and maybe update that package or something like that, it'd be great. But unfortunately, that's not where I'm at with it. Are you able to see this okay at all, or? I mean, I know it's probably small, but
I can see it okay.
Okay.
It's small, but I can see it.
Okay. Cool.
Hey guys, I'm gonna say good night. Have a good weekend.
All right. Good night, Marie. Thanks for coming. So, so that was kind of my code show and tell for tonight.
Great. Yes.
I'm
I
gonna
saw
go.
you got some great sponsors.
Yeah. Actually, I'm really psyched about that. I've been worried about sponsorship for Code Camp. And let me stop sharing here because I'm done with that for now. So I've been worried about sponsorship for, a remote event like this in the coronavirus era here, where we're doing a virtual event and all that stuff. And there we go. Now we get you back on the stream here. So I reached out to some of the sponsors from last year, and pretty much everybody who sponsored last year is coming back to sponsor again at pretty much the same levels. I have not heard from Emerson yet, though I'm still hoping. But Insight Digital Innovation is back, and the Atom Group is back, and Akumina is back, and all three of those came in today. And
Nice.
so I'm pretty psyched about that. That means that we've got some budget to play with. Still not enough to send everybody like the oh gosh, what was that? The
new Tesla? Yeah, that won't work.
Yeah, we can't send any new Teslas. Well, we could send them the Xamarin. No, it was the Uno platform Tesla.
Right.
Have you seen the Uno platform Tesla?
Didn't we see that last night?
It probably came up.
The dash thing?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So, so for folks who might have missed out, watching this remotely, last night we had Martin Zickman come and tell us about Uno platform, and it was a really great meetup, talking all about how to develop cross-platform applications using Windows 10 native functionality and stuff like that. So, my humble opinion, it's sort of the what cross-platform development really should be, and wish that Xamarin by itself was, but thankfully we at least have Uno platform. So I don't know if you caught the other part of that, but actually for October, we already have our speaker lined up for that night as well. And let me find the page here so I can pop it up on the screen. But where is it? No, I don't want past events. I want future events. So let me pull this up over here at least. So this is, I'm showing this on the live stream. I'm not sharing it on Teams right now, but for the folks at home, on Thursday, October 15th, we have Alexander Tofy. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. A lot of folks recognize his handle on Twitter, Alexander Zollinger Trophy. He is part of the Microsoft team that is working on Windows UI. And so on October 15th, for our next Windows development or .NET development users group meeting, he'll be coming and telling us all about the WinUI 3 native user experience framework for Windows desktop and UWP apps. Should be a really cool presentation. He's done this for a couple of other users groups, but to get it from Alexander is pretty close to the source at Microsoft. This is going to be a relatively deep dive. So, but I'm sure
Nice.
he'll adjust as far as that goes too. So I'm pretty excited about that. And so what else? It seems like, gosh, we had so many cool things go on today. Like I say, at the meeting that we had to talk about tasks and stuff like that, we have things going like the Spreadshirts store. Joe and I are working on setting that up. Even if that's not a sponsored thing, we definitely want to set it up so that people can go in there and buy, Code Camp stuff. So we might decide that it's okay to give, people, maybe some kind of gift card to it and go in and buy whatever they choose to with the gift card, of the logo merchandise, stuff with the Code Camp logo, or maybe even some of our sponsor logos or something like that. But at the same time, we're probably not going to have budget to do a whole bunch of stuff like that. I really like the idea of merchology, but I think I showed that earlier. Pricing for that is like, it's basically give them a list of people and they just ship a gift box out to, to everybody. And it's a great concept for an event like this, except that the cost per box is way above what our budget's going to be. So even for a small set of recipients, like if we just decided that we were going to ship out, like a speaker gift or something like that, we'll see as far as that goes. But I don't expect we'll have that much budget. But
Right.
Definitely appreciating what we've got, and definitely got hope for all that stuff there. So, but so I feel like I've been pretty much hogging the entire meeting tonight here. How are you guys doing?
Well, this is more important than what I've been doing. I don't know. I don't know. I've been working in Lawrence today. Princeton Apartments. I don't know if you've ever driven up 28 from 495.
I'm not sure.
Too bad. Wasn't too bad. Because they have a really high turnover. Of course, they're just little dinky apartments, and so people lease for a year, and people come in and out all the time. It wasn't too bad though. It was a nice apartment complex. It was well managed. The manager was on site, so I got most of the information from the manager.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Don't you wish that there was some way to aggregate that in general, huh?
Yeah, I had to work around a little bit. I didn't, but it was okay.
Very cool.
It is important that as many people get counted as possible. It's important on a local level because those demographics, how much money a town or a state or a city will get depends on those demographics, especially for schools.
Yep.
So,
Just pad those numbers, Karen. Oh,
can't do that.
So how about you, Bob? How you doing?
doing good. I'm becoming more and more convinced that software is sentient, and it seems like errors only happen where you don't have enough logging to know what's going on. Like, that's the only place an error ever happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's something to that, I'm sure. You know, it's a I think it's quantum related. You know, when you observe things, it changes the state.
Yeah.
So
the Heisenberg principle or something like that.
yeah, and so logging, you know, basically, you know, that's an active observation, and so, you know, the state, you know,
Right. It knows it's being observed, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to get caught here. I'm gonna function.
right. Well, I mean, actually, if you really think about it, I suspect that there might be something more to the idea that it's less likely that you'll have a problem in logged code because chances are you've already observed it and resolved it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But it's just like, it's so annoying. You know, I can narrow this problem down to just a few lines of code, but the exception is not getting logged. It's trying to zip up some files, and it's most likely files in use or something, but no idea. And it's only happening for, you know, these jobs run overnight, and they create reports and they zip them up and they send them somewhere. And this is only happening for one particular client. So it's not a system-wide issue. You know, it's just, I don't know. And it's been happening for months, literally months. Every single night doesn't work. And it's such a high-risk system that we don't want to make any changes and release it. You know, it's a very old web forms, WCF, you know.
What's the possibility that it's choking on resources? You know, like if this is only happening on this system, is there any chance that there's a either not as much memory as the other systems, or something it's sharing memory with something else that's taking up some of its resources?
It just doesn't seem like that, because, you know, there are a number of other jobs scheduled throughout the night. And it's consistent. Every single night, this one client. You know, if it was, you know, if it was a memory issue or utilization, it seems like it would be more intermittent, you know, than this one job or these two jobs that run after each other every night, and then the ones before it run, the ones after it run. These two don't run. So, yeah, it's just these fun little things that you get tickets for, and don't know how to help the people. So I told them, just delete the whole thing and recreate it. And I don't know, maybe that'll fix it, but
it's possible. I mean, that's you know, it might be worth a shot under the circumstances. I'm trying to think of, you know, because like I say, I find myself times when I've seen applications get flaky is when they, you know, for no other real good reason, is usually related to choking on resources without saying anything. Which happens. It's hard to say for sure. You know, do you have any opportunity to log or to monitor resource usage? Or
I mean, I probably could request it. I don't have access to that server normally, but I'd have to be awake at 12:42 a.m.
Ugh.
You know.
Yeah.
So it may come to that, but
Gotcha.
we also, I mean, our servers are monitored. We actually have a third party that monitors application pools, and they're not reporting any alerts. So
Yeah, that's interesting too. That does, kind of indicate that at the very least they're not seeing anything unusual, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing like that happening. It just means that it's not unusual at the very least.
Right. Yep.
So
yeah, that was a big part of my day, and the other part of my day was finishing setting up a development environment for Power Apps. So they didn't like me developing production. Go figure. So they created a development SharePoint site and development, Power Apps environment, which is still not ideal because when you do your changes in development, you have to export the Power Apps flows, and you have to go to production. You have to import the Power Apps and the flows. And if you're using SharePoint lists, you have to go and manually change them, because when you import them, now production is pointing to development. And so you have to go in and, change them back over to production. So not ideal, but that was the other half of my day.
Well, I guess at least it's Friday, so.
Well, we have a release. We have a release in the morning, so at 7:30 I'll be sitting right here releasing software, because we do monthly releases for the high risk stuff. So that's what I'll be doing in the morning.
Oh, geez. Well, sorry. So much for Friday.
It's gonna go smooth though. It's gonna go perfectly smooth. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
Just click a couple buttons in DevOps and go back to sleep.
Yep. Knock on wood. I can find something made of wood here.
Yeah.
Very cool. So this should be an interesting week coming up. Just because Microsoft Ignite is going on, and everybody's got that big debate about do I focus on work or do I focus on the event?
I've got multiple monitors, so I'm all set.
Yeah, well, I do too, and I know actually I'm probably going to even add a monitor or two. I'll have at least one stream going and working at the same time, but it's not like that's one thing that I do appreciate about going to an event, is that while you're there, generally speaking, nobody's expecting you to do something like be productive.
Yeah.
Not that learning isn't productive. Learning is very productive, but it's just not the same experience. I do look forward to getting back to the live experience, but we're all kind of in the same boat, so it is what it is there.
I couldn't agree more.
But lots of really great news. I've been kind of a little bit torn all week because I'm like, I want to geek out about all the great stuff I've been hearing about, but the news is getting disseminated throughout the course of this coming week, and it's really going to be some cool stuff. some of it's not really a surprise. A lot of it they've announced, you know, in one form or another. They've kind of said, oh yeah, by the way, .NET 5 is coming out, and you know, so you know, if you're surprised by the release of .NET 5, you haven't been paying attention, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So, but there's definitely a ton of other great stuff coming down the pike that you know, will be very cool for people to finally catch up with and all that stuff. So, and I'm a little worried about some of these. I mean, I'm really psyched that, I don't know if you noticed, but tonight Teams is split out into two windows. So you've got the main Teams window, and then you've got the meeting window. And the nice part about that is that I can have, you know, the presentation up on one display and be chatting or viewing documents or something like that in another display.
Yep.
And that's actually going to have a little bit of an impact on like our Code Camp event. So, you know, the good news is that you know, we've got all these neat new features that they're pushing out to us now, and showing us things like the big grid with the 50 video streams on it and stuff like that, and the together mode and all that fun stuff. On the other hand, I actually found myself wondering, gosh, what happens if they push an update that blows up Code Camp? You know, should I like look into getting some kind of insurance so that I could send the money back to the sponsors if something goes wrong? Not that I think that anything's actually going to go wrong with Teams, but you know, it's not impossible for, you know, a service to have an outage. So
Yeah, I did a couple presentations for a conference back in June that originally was not supposed to be virtual. And at one point they contacted us all and they're like, we want you to pre-record your session because, you know, they had another conference ahead of this one in June, and I think they learned a bunch of lessons, and you know, instead of telling people to go live, they're like, pre-record them please and send a video to us. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
Right. So that is one of the charms. I mean, because Code Camp is a, you know, we're still trying to honor the Code Camp manifesto as much as we can. And, you know, that's by having it on a Saturday, by having it live, well, as live as you can get in a remote broadcast. So I'm kind of favoring not doing recordings just because that's part of the Code Camp charm.
It also takes a lot away from the presentation. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it unless you're really having technical difficulties.
Yeah, I really like the idea of Code Camps being interactive, you know, where people can just ask questions and talk about the technology and, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely would much rather have, you know, a few quirks but be authentic than, you know, have it be, you know, a pre-canned show, you know.
Yep.
So, but let's see what else is going on. I mean, it's really kind of sad because I mean there really actually aren't any other code camps that I can think of progressing in this.
No.
Boston Microsoft Developers isn't having a code camp, but they're starting to do online presentations in Teams.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I joined one this past Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good as far as that went. they did a very cool presentation about event sourcing, and you know, that's an architectural design choice that is very storage heavy. So basically, not just logging per se, but really recording every single activity that a system does as a means of being able to unwind and rewind and play back different transactions and stuff like that. So if you ever needed to like roll back a transaction in a transactional database or something like that, an event sourcing system would enable you to do that if you were ever in a situation where you needed to be able to do that. And I've used, actually, in years past, I've actually used a pattern that was very, very similar to event sourcing, where I would only ever add rows to a table, what would otherwise be a transactional table, and there would just be a latest version of the record in the table with a partition to differentiate.
Yep.
And that's actually a very primitive form of event sourcing, I think. I think that qualifies. But maybe somebody debate with me about that at some point. So
yeah, Azure Durable Functions do a similar thing, so they can keep track of you know, where they left off.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody got anything else before we're just about at time for tonight? Anybody got?
I just wanted to say I looked at the website.
Yeah.
And the sponsors.
Yeah.
And the language is very good. Call for speakers and sponsors. How to be a sponsor. Did you get some help?
No, it's just been polished over time. You know, we.
Trying to think, Karen.
Oh, the first time I looked at it, I was, you know, I wanted to help him out a little bit, but I see he's been working on it. It looks good.
No, I think your updates and stuff like that are very much appreciated. So.
I know. Yeah, it looks really good.
Very cool. Thank you. And thank you for your help with that. You know.
I don't see any of my language in there, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Listen, I don't think so. Maybe did I submit some stuff? Oh, here's about coming. Like, yeah, it looks good. It looks really good. I'm impressed.
Cool.
Yes. That's all I have to say.
All right. I was worried for a second there. You're going to say, "Oh no, it froze up on me again."
No, looks good.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So if I don't hear from you otherwise, I think Code and Coda is up on Friday night. Sunday night. I think it is. It's the makeup for the one that didn't happen last weekend, but should be a good one. I'll throw that up on the screen as I close us out for tonight. That's our friends Joe Parzell and Eric Gaudet doing Code and Coda as a mixed media live stream, live coding, and live music. So if you get a chance to catch that live on Sunday night, it's awesome. But it's still great to listen to on a rerun on YouTube. So all the existing episodes are out there, and they just keep on getting better, not just in terms of content and stuff like that, but even the audio quality and that sort of thing. So
Right. I have it. Yeah, I've got to look at that little game he's got going too. SQL Server and Java.
yeah, I really would like to spend a little bit of time playing with that too, but I just haven't had a chance to dig in on it. But all right, unless there's anything else, I'll let you go and hope to see you for Code and Coda, and otherwise I'll catch you hopefully Monday evening.
Have a
Okay.
good weekend.
Good weekend.
Good night.
All right, good night, you too. Thank you.